Just a few more seconds. I'm in the process of resolving those issues. My apologies for the delay. All right, we are now live on YouTube, and you may begin as you see fit.
Okay. Welcome to the November 9, 2020 meeting of the Budget and Governmental Affairs Committee of Community Board 6. My name is Rick Eggers, and I'm chair of the committee. This meeting is called to order at 6:32. Tonight, we are joined by District Manager Jesus Perez. And let's see, members of the public, you can raise any questions or comments that you have through the Q&A feature in Zoom. If there's time following the committee's discussion, we will field questions from the public. I have made a promise to the committee that it be a short meeting, so hopefully you'll abide by that as well. If you have any questions, we can follow up separately. We do not have a volunteer to take minutes tonight. Is there a volunteer to take minutes?
Can.
Is any, no, you've already, and you just recently did it. Jesus, is there any objection to me taking minutes because it's going to be that short?
If you don't mind taking minutes, there is no objection. No?
Okay, I will take minutes, but we're also going to be sending out a doodle to find, and we're going to set up minute taking for at least the first half of the coming year, and we'll move it around. If anybody really enjoys doing minutes, that's fine, but it's part of our duties as committee members.
In fact, we're actually being audited. All community boards in Manhattan will very soon be audited on their minute-taking completeness. So when we say it's important, when Rick says it's important, he's not joking.
Oh, I thought I was. Anyway, let's see. So we have the minutes. So now we take attendance. It's by roll call, and Jesus will do the roll call.
All right, everyone, I will call your name. If you are muted, you may unmute yourself and say present or here. Rick Eggers.
Here.
Reshma Patel.
Here.
Thank you. Jim Collins. Jim Collins. Keep in mind that when I'm calling names, I can't actually see the Zoom screen, so I don't have Jim Collins here. Beatrice Disman.
Here.
Paige Judge. Paige Judge. All right, I don't hear Paige. Brian Van Nieuwenhoven.
Present.
I thought I heard Brian. Was that?
Yes, I said present.
Okay, thank you. Claude L. Winfield.
Present.
Thank you. Ava Marie Lassiter.
Present. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you, Ava. All right, you do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office and appears on the screen, perhaps.
Yes, 1 second. Can everyone see it?
Yes.
Here we go. We're just going to be getting a start on this discussion, and we're going to be focusing on a small segment of it and get some conversation going. So it still shouldn't take long. If no one objects, we will adopt the agenda. Seeing no objections, the agenda is adopted. The minutes from the October 14th meeting were distributed ahead of time by the board office. If there's no objection, we will adopt these minutes. Committee members, if you object to adopting these minutes, you may raise your hand through Zoom. Okay, seeing no objections, the minutes are adopted. Okay, we're pretty much familiar with the ground rules of the committee. No one may speak until granted the floor. Committee members, if you have a question about the committee business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand through Zoom. If you click the participants icon, the participants panel should appear, and you should find the raised hand function there. If you still have technical difficulty, you may click the chat icon and relay your difficulty. The chat function should not be used for committee business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. Chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties you are having or to state in writing information like an email address that was already stated aloud on the record during the meeting. When a committee member is given the floor to speak, I will identify you and you can unmute yourself so you can speak. We are required by executive order to create a verbatim transcript of the meeting. So please keep your questions and comments succinct and germane to the discussion. Okay. Okay, so let's turn to the agenda. And I want to start with using the district needs statement and other resources throughout the year. One of the things that we've observed is that we put a lot of effort into getting the district needs statement together, the priorities. All the committees talk about these things. They're put into the district needs statement and probably not looked at again for another year. So what we want to do is find a way to make this a tool for the board. And I have a proposal for you of one way to do it, and then we'll take any other suggestions that you have. I'd like to propose that we have each committee member become the liaison to another committee that they sit on, because you pretty much all sit on another committee, and that you work with the committee chair to monitor that, one, the priorities are being considered throughout the year. Two, anything that should be considered as a priority has been recorded, documented, and somehow communicated so that we can start getting it into the report earlier rather than waiting to the very end. And three, just generally help keeping the committee on track. Now, I haven't talked to Kyle about this. I wanted to get your feedback first because it's basically, I don't want to step in anybody's toes as committee chair. This is a little bit tricky. So I want to talk to Kyle and get his permission. But first, I wanted to lay this out to you and find out if everybody is willing to take on that responsibility of being kind of the liaison between the budget committee and another committee that they sit on. And do I have any discussion on that? Okay, I have to figure out how to.
No one's hands are up so far.
Okay.
So if anyone has any comments, they have not made them known through their hand raising. It looks like Ava Marie Lassiter would like the floor.
Okay.
Well, I agree because this is a point that you brought up about 2 months ago in terms of strengthening, getting a response from the other committee chairs. So I think it's a very, very good idea.
Since you are commenting, Eva Marie, as a public member, how would you see your role in this? Because you're not sitting in any other committee. We could, for example, we could have you work with just kind of be an eyes and ears of things that you see going on that you could then report in the community, that you could then report to the district office, and the district office could send it to a committee. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, I wanted to, I know that there, I believe there are still votes that are being counted for certain districts here in the city. I wanted to see if there had been any problem, particularly as it affects seniors. And if that issue comes up, then I would report what I had discovered. Would I report that to, or give that information to the particular chair of the committee that would be handling senior issues, and also give that information to you? Is that how I should proceed?
Well, it would depend on how that was framed. We wouldn't be commenting about the political process. That's handled by a lot of other folks. But if you see something, if you've observed that for some, there are barriers to being able to vote that are being put up for seniors, that might be something of interest. But we have to be very careful about that we don't go over the line and deal with political issues.
So should I give the information to you, and then you would be giving it to the chair of that particular committee?
I would send it to the district office, and they'll communicate with me, and Jesus and I will work that out.
All right then, thank you.
Okay.
B. Disman requests the floor.
B.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, I just am thinking about what you said, and I think it may be too bureaucratic. It's funny coming from me.
And for me.
Yeah. No, I think each of the committees should have its priorities on the needs statement. We went over that.
Right.
I think they have to have that at meetings and focus on it throughout the year. I think that's really the job of the committee chairs, because they were instrumental in getting it. I think as a committee member, we could make sure, as we're talking about subjects, that they look at it and keep it there. I think the thing that happens, Rick, is we do the statement and then it's not incorporated in our meetings. Okay, yeah. It's like it comes back 9 months later for us to talk about it. So I almost think as part of the agenda for committees, you have to have something that says special, needs statement, and it always has to be in front of them. I would do that. And then I think you have the responsibility and accountability of your committee chairs.
Okay. So less emphasis on this committee's members actually doing something other than making sure that it's on the agenda periodically.
On the agenda, and if you see it's not on if you see there's no discussion of it on the committee, as a committee member, you can bring it up. But I don't think once you split accountability and responsibility from a chair, okay, then you're diffusing it, and then no one's responsible.
Gotcha.
Brian Van Nieuwenhoven would like the floor.
Brian?
Yeah, we had some good progress with this over the past couple of years. One thing that we did, which broke from earlier precedent, was, sorry, my cat just jumped up on that table. But one of the things that we broke from, yeah, exactly. We used to have each committee like reapprove all of their requests every single year. And so for one thing, that was like a little bit bureaucratic. The other thing is it didn't do anything to help with the problem of aged requests going through, because they would committees would usually get to this like late in the process and just reapprove the whole slate from the prior year. So one of the things we do now is that if you've already requested it as a committee, we make the assumption that if you haven't told us or you haven't had a specific committee discussion, that whatever you've requested, you still consider to be important. We were waiting for, my process at least was to just wait for word from the committee if somebody wanted to take something off of a district needs thing. This made sense for 90% of everything anyway, because if we ask for like school windows 1 year and they haven't been installed, we won't still want them the next year. Like it doesn't seem like it hurts CB6 to continue asking for something in that way. And we did. The committees also have been instructed, go through things through the year, have your committee to resolve to add something to your district needs and your budget requests mid-year if you think it's important. You don't have to wait for the end of the year. You don't have to do anything formal. So that noted, I mean, that process it has been generally effective. It is the responsibility of the committee chairs to do this. I find that a lot of discussions, both before I was chair and even while I was chair, centered around this idea that we really needed to get after committee chairs and get them to talk to us. But with the changes that we have in place, it's their responsibility. Like if they don't give us an update, we are just going to roll over whatever they've asked for already. And if they miss something, that's on the committee chair and that's not on our committee. I do think that the tone of our conversations makes us the kind of arbiters of the requests that we don't really need to be including, evaluating whether they're fit or not. All of this, I think, this is sort of outside the purview of what the task that we've been given by the board. And at the very worst, we could have exec approve a priority that didn't get through a committee in a timely fashion if it's something that's really obvious that we want.
Rick and Jesus, I can't find the hand raise on my cell phone, but I'd like to just follow up what Brian said. I do think it's the primary responsibility of the chair of the committee, but in some way we could periodically inform the chair or ask the chair if their priorities, their major priorities that are stated in the needs assessment have been discussed in committee, and just have them bring it up and have them answer back to you where they are at this point in the year on that priority.
Any other comments?
I was just going to add to what Claude said, and I mean, I agree with that. And I think, focusing on our role as helpers of the process just does the best service for the board and the other committees. Yeah. And I think that the historical precedent of us trying to police the incoming requests and try to see how fit they are and whether we agree with whether they should continue going. I think that there's a little bit of room for that, but I think that we spend generally, when we discuss both the responses and the upcoming needs, we spend 2 hours discussing that. And I don't think we actually result in anything because we almost always still include the request. Yeah. And it just, the ordering just becomes obvious after a long period of time when you're only adding 2 or 3 things a year.
Yeah. Okay. This is very helpful because to me, because clearly I'm thinking of it in a little bit too heavy-handed a way, and I need to pull back on that. And when I talk to Kyle, but I do kind of like the idea that someone, either somebody from the committee who's on that other committee, or me, or Kyle, or somebody halfway through the time period is checking in with the committee and saying, how are things going on these priorities? Because otherwise, why are they priorities? If the committee hasn't done anything on the priority, then it can't be. I mean, if they should at least be making a phone call to an agency to make sure that what the agency's response would be. But I think I am getting a bit too bureaucratic in my thinking. I think B hit it on the head. I tend to be a micromanager, and that's what I was heading for. So I appreciate all your comments, and it changes the way I approach it with Kyle. So thank you very much for that. But I would like to look at a couple things just to confirm going forward where everything stands, where we stand on a couple items. One is, and Jesus, if you could put up the list of committee assignments.
Okay, let me pull that up right now. Is it visible?
Is that big enough for people to see?
A little bigger.
A little bigger?
All right, let me zoom it in.
That's good.
Thank you.
That's good for me too. If you could just find your name on here and make sure that that your committee assignments are correct. And then we'll have someone we know on the committee to ask questions if we need to.
Is this exclusive of budget?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Should be pretty close. And then Karen will figure out where you belong on this list when you get your application for public member in.
Okay, I submitted it.
Good for you. Thank you. The next thing let me just put it up on the screen. And it's the priority list. Jesus, it's
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now.
okay.
Forgive me, my computer's acting up tonight.
It's a bad night for computers. Mine did too, and Bees did. And I think we're just using our computers too much.
And I suppose it's too late to blame it on Y2K. I dare say that dates me a bit. All right, is it visible?
Yes.
Yeah, can you make it a little larger?
Sure.
This is really, I just want to confirm that this was part of the resolution that was passed at the board, and it lists our priorities for capital, the continuing support for capital, and the expense report as ranked. Does everyone have at least this information somewhere in their not working computers? Because we can send out something like this. What Jesus and company are doing is creating a Airtable that includes all this kind of information in a single table. So it has not just the priorities, but also the explanations, so that you can go in, look at it. I want to have it possible that that everybody on the committee has a way to get into this information.
Could you just send it out one more time?
Yeah, sure. We're happy to do that.
Yes, actually, we have created the table already. Let me.
Have you updated it for the explanations?
Those explanations will be updated in the next day or two.
Oh, cool.
But the table itself is visible. I will pull it up right now. Also, that resolution that Rick referenced a few moments ago, if you go onto the CD6 website and you click on resolutions near the top of the list, because it's a recent resolution, that resolution will appear and you can view that resolution. You can view that resolution there. If you ever want to find where that one is. So let me show you the table that Rick was mentioning. Here it is. Is it big enough for folks, or should I zoom in?
Zoom it a little.
That's good.
That's good.
So let's see.
Rick, would you like to walk them through this very briefly, or would you like me to?
I would prefer that you do, because I think you're more familiar with it.
Okay. So this is Airtable. As you remember, we started tracking our district needs, our budget request rather, through Airtable. Airtable allows us to manipulate this data very easily and easily create views like this. This view allows us to see committee by committee which requests fall under that committee's jurisdiction. For example, it starts with land use and waterfront, which you see right here. And it has all the capital, expense, and continued support requests that fall under this committee. The one little bug with this is that it treats some of these requests, a handful of these requests could fall under more than one committee, in which case it would treat those as separate committee categories. For example, this continued support item, which is an irrigation system for Solar One in Sty Cove Park, doesn't appear under this category for land use because this category is only for land use only requests. We need to work on fixing that little bug there. But as you can see, as you scroll down, there's one request that is land use and parks related. Scroll down a little more. There's one request that is land use and transportation committee related. Scroll down a little more. There's something that's land use and BASA related. And as you scroll down, and in fact, I can just put this link. This is a public link. I can put this link in the chat box and you folks can view it on your own computers and you'll be able to see you'll be able to see this for yourself. I put it in the chat. You can view it now and click on it now.
A much better way of seeing it. Thank you, Jesus.
One thing I will say, sort of relating to your comments from before, I think one good thing that has happened with the budget requests over the last few years is that you all have really pared them down. A few years ago, we had over 80 of them, and now between continued support, capital, and expense, we have a total of 46. That is much more manageable. If you wanted to do one a week, you could do that within a year. A committee could, or the office could even work on that. It's much more manageable that way. And I think the committees and Brian in his previous incarnation as ad hoc budget chair and Rick and Molly, and they've been doing a good job of really encouraging the committees to okay, if you don't remember what this request is or who made it or why it's even a priority, chuck it.
Hey, Suze, could you go back to the original item that you showed that was shown under two committees, land use and parks?
Yes, I'm scrolling back up there now.
Yeah, you said that wouldn't be exclusively shown under land use, but does the same apply for parks?
Same applies for parks, yes. When you get to parks, all you will see is those requests that are specific only, that are only to parks.
Are there any other committees that have similar items?
Land use has some like that. Health has some that are like that. There are a few.
Okay, thank you.
But everything is here. It's just grouped a little differently, and we're playing around with how to make it show as it would show on a form that we design ourselves.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But you all now have that link.
Great. I don't consider that a glitch. I consider that just we need to make a decision there. It wouldn't hurt to have a primary committee in any event, like primary committee and secondary committee somehow. But I can see some of these, we can just talk to the committee chairs and confirm that who wants this as their primary responsibility.
Some of these a lot of these do lend themselves to just being with one committee. When it's the office that grouped them this way, we tried to be very liberal with how we interpreted where it could go, just so that as many voices as possible could be heard.
Yep. And I just want to call out Brian for the work that they did on cutting back the numbers of requests, because that did make a big difference. And I think we can do it again. I was not helpful in that regard this year, but I think we can probably cut out another 10 of those, in my estimation. It depends on what the committees say, but some of the continuing supports, at least, we can get rid of.
And maybe as a start, since we're in the process of just sort of, this is fresh in our minds, and especially here at the office, since we have a role in the administrative side of managing these things, we can perhaps send the committee or you to Rick, and you can decide how to disseminate it. Perhaps a handful of these requests that are most in need of revision or update. In going through some of these requests, the blurb that goes along with it. I remember one of them in particular. It was PS16's. It was PS16's security system,
Yeah.
and the blurb essentially says they do not have a security system, or they have one that is inadequate. Well, it's either not there or it's inadequate. It can't be both. And if this is going to be one of our priorities, we should know which is the case. And
can I say something about that, being a former principal? You need to dig into that a little bit more, because part of the main part of the security system for a school is done through its public address system. And I'm not clear whether they're talking about the public address system or whether they're talking about physical security or doors, etc.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the alarm system and all of that is done through the relay rack that's in the main office, that is the public address system. You need to clarify what they mean by that.
Well, that's the kind of thing that I think we can do that throughout the year. I mean, we don't need to wait to the last minute to get there. We need to look at this district needs statement when it's all put together and looking pretty, and decide which ones need to be fleshed out now, which can be and should be done now. Then we don't have to worry about it in September.
Yeah.
Perhaps that's a good way to move forward. One of the things that I do to help the chairs to kind of jog get the juices flowing is I go through all of them and I say, okay, this one doesn't really make a lot of sense. Can we be more clear? Does anybody remember what's really wrong here? And the experience of Claude has as a former educator, I would never have known to ask those questions. Maybe the budget committee can look through some of these, and I'll let you know in a couple of days when the blurbs are all updated, but you can all look through some of these and ask sort of critical questions with like, what do they mean by this? And someone needs to provide more statistics to make this more persuasive, and just little tidbits like that, critiques for each one of these. And you can say for capital number 10, and you can do little critiques like that, because one thing we need to keep in mind is these blurbs, the city planning limits us to only 800 characters, so we can't write a thesis on each one. But if you guys go through some of these things and use your expertise to perhaps bring forth critical questions that we in the office wouldn't think of, that may be a good way of starting to revamp some of these things. And we should start now, because we always think, oh, we've got an entire year, until we know that it creeps up.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so my alarm just went off saying that we have now gone for 30 minutes. So I want to do 5 minutes more. And just say that I wanted to also share with you, and I will send to you, the the calendar of the budget, the steps in the budget, so that you might get a sense of where we need to be involved and where we don't. We don't need to be involved directly, as in much of it. It's done by where there is an involvement. It's the board chair. Sometimes the committee chair works with the board chair, but it's pretty much the board chair who has the responsibility. But we might want to be, we may be called upon to help review documents, come up with some ideas on how he might want to proceed. So I'll send you the calendar, and just so you know, in December, the mayor releases the financial plan updating the adopted budget. The adopted budget is the real budget. I mean, the budget that was passed in June. And this is going to be adjustments to that so that it keeps on track, because we have to have a balanced budget at all times. We're going to need to look at that, because there are going to be some cuts in there that we might want to comment on. So if there is anything that we can do in December, that would be something in December. In January, they issue the preliminary budget, supposedly. It sometimes has been late, but under de Blasio, it's pretty much been on time. And that comes out in the middle of January, and we will have something to do with that. But in the meantime, I'm suggesting that we not have a meeting in December, that I will send out documents as we get them. And if you have any comments to make on the documents, if you think we need to schedule a meeting, we can do that. But I don't have any particular agenda items for us for December. If somebody else does, please let me know, and we'll put it on the calendar. I'm also going to be sending out a, what is it, a doodle, or is it it's one of those scheduling things. I think
Doodle.
Is that Doodle?
That's one of the companies that does it, yes.
Yeah, one of those scheduling things to see if people are available for a different night for the meeting. I don't particularly like having a committee meeting the same week as the full board. If something comes up that we need to do and we meet on Monday and we have to hustle to get something together for the full board, that's not really good. And a lot of these documents come out in the middle of the month. So if we could have a meeting, if we could meet at the end of the month, that would be good. But we'll go by, what the majority of people are convenient. It's convenient for the majority of people. And I won't make any change at all if it's really a problem. I just want to get a sense of it. Okay. I think I can conclude. That's sort of what I have wanted to cover under the agenda item number 1. Does anyone have any old or new business that they want to bring up? Okay, so let me get back to our.
Wait, I'm trying to click the raise hand thing. Sorry.
Okay, Brian, go ahead.
I just wanted to throw out there. We've had a lot of resolutions about election stuff. Should we think about any specific proposals that have been discussed or potentially coming down the pipe about city or state election reform? I don't have a specific thing right now, but I thought I'd bring it up. We're in the middle of it. This thing where we don't count anything until a week after the election is real bad, and it makes us really the laughing stock of the country. We do have a chance to make a statement about that, but I think that there's also been a lot of people talking in general about getting rid of the current system of elections appointments and trying to start something else, because I know it's been implemented with the best of intentions, but in the modern era, it's literally the worst way to build an organization, is the way that New York State regulates its election boards to operate.
Okay, yeah, we have done things related to elections, election procedures in the past. So in general, I don't have any problem with considering them. But we do have to be very careful again about anything that goes into the political process that could be construed as a political party kind of approach.
I think a good baseline on this, and it would probably address that concern, is that I wouldn't want to support anything unless it was support of a very specific proposal of how to form a board of elections to replace the current proposal. Then that way we don't have to talk about the current proposal or about anything that has been a result of the way that the current system works.
Sounds like a possibility. We should talk more. I think there is some room. I know that the way we count, when we start counting, is in part because of the state constitution, which is a pain in the, very difficult to change, time consuming and difficult, but there undoubtedly are going to be plenty of things brought up and by various parties, and possibly we could get somebody in to talk about this kind of stuff. I hesitate to just make stuff up within the committee. I'd like to have some sort of expert backing, some sort of like a panel or a well-known watchdog kind of organization that's kind of neutral in their positions. But definitely we can add that to the list of things to consider when we have no other agenda item.
Do you think that's something that IBO would cover?
I was wondering about IBO in particular because they're really good about responding to us. I think Dave Tereski's still there.
Yes, he's very good about that.
He used to show up all the time. He used to show up when asked, and I don't know that they would do that or not. But
Rick, I can also ask the League of Women Voters. They're nonpartisan and are really been working on this for 100 years now. So
yeah, absolutely. Good. Of course, good idea. Good idea.
Rick, it may interest the board to know we're about to put this in the Wednesday email that goes out, as well as on the events page, because we just recently learned that the New York City Voter Assistance Advisory Committee is holding a town hall on December 9th. And they are asking New Yorkers to share their voting experiences during this most recent election, with an eye towards telling them about their experience with voting in person during early voting, voting in person on election day, voting by mail and requesting absentee ballots, and recommendations to improve the voting experience in New York City. So if anybody on the committee or any of the members of the public who are listening tonight want to attend that meeting, watch our events page. In the coming days, we're going to put that information, but it is the New York City Voter Assistance Advisory Committee. It is December 9th, 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. And they are asking New York City voters to attend the town hall and tell them about their voting experience and how it can be made better.
Good. So we'll take a look at that, because I'm always wary about anything political for community boards, but we have weighed in on some things before. We'll just have to figure out where the appropriate line is and work with that. Okay. Anything else? Jesus, do you see any members of the public who are on the line?
I do, but I don't see any hands raised.
Okay, this is their opportunity if they have a question. Okay,
Hands raised.
great, thank you. So let's see. I guess I can take a motion to adjourn, and before I do that, okay, I have a motion to adjourn. Does not require a second. If there are no objections, we can adjourn the meeting. Seeing no objections, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
See everyone Wednesday.
Thank you, and happy holidays to everyone.
Yes, Thursday is full board.
Oh, Thursday, sorry.
And Reshma, you and I need to we'll have a phone call in the next couple of weeks.
Sure.
Talk about how we're gonna work this out, because I haven't involved you enough yet.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Okay, bye everybody.